This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
And let's talk about something slightly less painful. Egwene having been raised to the Amyrlin seat. And you, by the way, I assume I wasn't there for the ceremony. I was kicked out for that chapter. So you'll have to fill me in.
Yeah, she got halfway through the ceremony and then they paused to take a quick nap while everyone else in Salidar woke up. And now this is her waking up the next morning and them all finishing the ceremony and her setting to with a will, more or less.
And it seems like they drilled her quite a bit last night on the mechanics.
Yes. Yes, she did not get a lot of sleep. She did a whole lot of learning and not a lot of sleeping.
Chapter 36, Flame of Tarvalin. The Amyrlin is raised, and our symbol is the Flame of Tarvalin. Egwene raised her head from the pillows and looked around for a moment, surprised to find herself in a canopied bed in a large room. Early morning light spilled in at the windows, and a plumply pretty woman in a simple gray wool dress was setting a large white pitcher of hot water on the washstand. Chesa had been introduced to her last night as her maid, the Amyrlin's maid. A covered tray sat beside her comb and brush on a narrow table beneath a mirror, with a silver-worked frame. The smell of hot bread and stewed pears drifted in the air. Anaya had prepared the room for Egwene's arrival. The furnishings did not match, but they were the best Salidar had to offer. From the padded armchair, upholstered in green silk, to the stand mirror in the corner with all its gilding intact, to the ornately carved wardrobe where her belongings now hung. Unfortunately, Anaya's taste seemed to run heavily to frothy lace and frills. Both thickly bordered the canopy of the bed and the drawn-back bed curtains, and one or the other decked the table and its stool, the arms and legs of the padded chair, the coverlet Egwene had tossed on the floor, and the thin silk sheet that had followed. The curtains at the windows were lace, too. Egwene put her head back down. Lace edged the pillows as well. The room made her feel she might drown lace. Love that description.
I love how it totally calls back to New Spring and how Moraine and Swan were, mothered by Anaya when they were first raised to the blue. And it's like Anaya hasn't changed at all in the 20 years or, 20 years since that happened. It's just like, I love it because it's a callback to a book that hasn't been published yet. When this book was published, right?
Nice. Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. I was like, nice callback. I did, I almost never remember to go back to New Spring for my references.
The lace is just one of the things I adore about Anaya that just always sits in the background and has no meaning for anything, but it's just part of who she is and has always been who she is and will never change.
See, I was thinking it was like because she is the head of the blue and she feels like Egwene would have been blue, she's sort of trying to decorate it especially for her as welcome. But I guess if it's just her personality, it's just something she does for everybody, that makes more sense.
Yeah, because she does it to Swan and Moraine, just sort of this is what I do for all new sisters. Yay! Nobody else wants to do this task, so I think
in particular, I thought she maybe to convince sisters to be blue.
Oh, well, she does it after they've chosen their Aja, so
right.
I don't see quite how lace and frills is a symbol for the blue.
Oh, I think she's just being nice because it's welcome to the family. It's like bringing your neighbors a pie when they move in.
Right, yeah, and she thinks she's being nice. I mean, she is being nice, but she likes lace and frills more than everybody else in the world combined.
Except maybe Matt.
Man needs a little lace.
A little lace. And then you look at his outfit and you're like, dude, you started with little lace and went for a lot of lace.
Yeah, it's like you've reached Elizabeth I levels of lace at this point.
It's spilling out of his cuffs, it's coming out of his neck,
Everywhere.
It's at the bottom of his pants, it's the bottom of his shirt, and it's you haven't edged anything that's not edged in just a little bit of lace.
Yeah, it's probably on his underwear too. His small clothes, sorry. Probably on his small clothes.
What's the point of having small clothes if they don't have a little bit of lace on them?
That's gone. He edges his lace with lace. Maybe he's actually Anaya's long lost distant cousin.
Laceception.
Laceception.
Or fractal lace.
It's
lace all the way down.
Yeah, Mandelbrot. That's what it is. Mandelbrot lace. Mandelbrot fractal lace.
Funny enough, the Mandelbrot kind of looks like a turtle.
It does.
Because it's turtles all the way down, guys.
It's true. I'm a scientist. Believe me.
Trust me, I'm a scientist. Famous last words. Actually, if we did trust the scientists, we would be out of this frickin' pandemic.
We'd be out of a lot of problems if we listened to the damn scientists. Just saying. Next, we kind of have a big ol' summary of everything that happened the night before, basically. Like they were like, so here's how to be a puppet. This is how the puppet plan is going to go. Here's where you sign. Just follow the script. It'll be great. And she's like, uh-huh.
I love the idea that once the word of Egwene as Amyrlin seed is spread, the Aes Sedai will come flocking to her, even the ones still in tower. It's like, just because you raised another Amyrlin seed?
Yeah. A few steps that I feel like maybe got missed there slightly.
Right. Where's the rest of the fucking owl?
What?
Draw one circle, draw another circle, and then the third panel is like a completely sketched owl. It's like, fill in the details.
Oh.
Basically, draw the rest of the owl. And that's sort of what they've given Egwene, is like, okay, we've given you the ring and the shawl. Now go be Amyrlin seat, go fill in the rest of the role.
Oh, you feeling overwhelmed? What a coincidence. We're totally ready to take over for you.
Although I do like the just constant infighting and the balance between Ramonda, Elayne, and Shiriam, that she manages, the balance she gets there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, having 3 different leashes that she can work with allows her to actually triangulate a path forward, which is pretty cool.
No, and also here, she still thinks of Suan as someone who's just going to teach her etiquette. She hasn't made Suan an ally yet, I don't think.
Oh, yeah, she has no idea how much... Like, she's, in this point, very exasperated that Swan's going to teach her etiquette. But, like, very quickly, Swan wins her over. And it's like, no. Seriously, you need me. This is going to be great. It's going to be awesome.
I'm trying to wonder, do Elayne and Nyneave let her know that those two have been allies?
Not in this chapter.
But I was wondering in the next, because the conversation basically, the next chapter is a continuation of this one, and they go right in the continuation.
I have not read that one yet for this read, so I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we get... okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that's probably something that Swan brings up off-screen to Egwene, because she's, completely spilling the entire, ultra-classified plan to Egwene, because Egwene has to execute it.
Yeah, so I skipped ahead quick, and just so you know, Suan took one step in the study and stopped, taking in Moghedien, the bracelet on Egwene's wrist, Nyneave, and Elayne. Shutting the door, she made a curtsy as minimal as anything from Ramonda or Elayne. Mother, I've come to instruct you in etiquette, but if you rather I return later. Her eyebrows rose, calmly questioning.
Yeah.
And then, facing Suan, she folded her arms beneath her breast. This won't do, Suan. I know everything, daughter. And so there's a whole... And so they knock it all out. There's Moghedien there, so they all make... This is next chapter. They basically come together as a group and are like, okay, this is now a conspiracy.
Cards on the table.
Yeah.
Let's combine our resources and do the thing.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. Yeah, but yeah, this is Egwene getting the exposition dump recap of everything that's been happening.
Totally.
In this chapter.
All right, so here's the thing I want to keep an eye out through this whole chapter. Chesa, thank you. I think Chesa is a red herring for Arengar.
Halima?
Yeah.
I agree. I do feel like that's sort of...
Or at least a dark friend,
Yeah, I have so many questions about Chesa. Like, why does Egwene trust her so quickly? Why does she appear to actually deserve that trust? Like, what is going on with Chesa? And then she gets killed with no explanation beyond Halima being a sadistic dark friend asshole.
Oh, no, she kills the other two. Chase is the one who doesn't get killed.
And so why not? Why does Chesa not get killed? Like, there's no context to Chesa. Like, no, you're right, Super Sky. She is just normal people. But, she's put in place by a dark friend to be a spy, and Egwene trusts her immediately with zero proof, and then she completely deserves it. It's just so confusing to me that Robert Jordan never gives us anything about her. She plays no significant role other than just being normal and chill.
Like, I think she's a red herring, right? I think that he's one of those people. Same thing like Vannon. I think Vannon was sort of supposed to be a red herring for one of the other Forsaken. Like, a big enough character that you could see, like, she could be, you know, she's named, and it would be like, and they're close to one of the main characters. Wouldn't it be cool if that character was secretly a Forsaken? And you need to create a bunch of those characters so it's not obvious which one of them actually is the Forsaken.
Right, but it's like she's put in place by Shiriam to be Shiriam's spy, and then Egwene just, like, promptly is like, oh no, her loyalty is to me. And then, like, that's apparently true. Like, what? Wouldn't Shiriam have actually picked someone who was going to be loyal to her for this role?
Yeah, and she's not. And that's why she actually survives, because Lima kills the ones who are spies.
Oh, that must be it, yeah. So then, yeah, why is Chesa just like, yeah, I'm totally going to get hired to be a spy, and then immediately switch horses?
Well, I don't think she was ever hired to be a spy. I don't think
Shiriam didn't mean her.
No, I guess not. I mean,
well, I figured that Shiriam needed, like, eyes on Egwene at all times, right? So Chesa's there to, like, just also report on what's up?
You would think, but I really do think Shiriam was like, well, I'm the keeper. That's close enough. I think Shiriam may have just gotten a normal person to be her.
Wow,
right?
That is a very lukewarm dark friend move.
Shiriam's kind of a lukewarm dark friend. She's not really in it to be a dark friend. She's in it for the power, and she just got to be keeper.
She's not thinking ahead, like, I need to make sure I have a loyal spy even closer to Egwene than I already am. She's not that kind of devious. She's just, I don't know. That's weak, man. Dark friends are supposed to be clever.
I'm stuck. Since when? Greedy,
Since Aes
yes.
Sedai were supposed to be clever.
I'm going to Occam's razor this.
Disappoint me.
I think she's just a normal person supposed to be a red herring. Because, I mean, and Sanderson does not mention her in any of his 3 books. Her last appearance is Crossroads of Twilight.
Yeah, no, Chaser's completely a normal person. I agree. I'm very disappointed in Shiriam. I know she's a dark friend and I shouldn't be rooting for her, but, like, come on. You're supposed to be politically savvy. What are you doing letting this opportunity slip by? I mean, yay for Egwene. She definitely needed Chesa, but, like, yeah, that's just very short-sighted on Nyneave's part. Not on Nyneave's part. On Shiriam's part. Sorry, Nyneave. Oh, it's because Nyneave's braid just joined and my brain crossed the wires.
But no, as far as I can tell, Chesia is in the Gathering Storm in her tent, being her servant, just like normal.
Just one of those normal people that holds down everything while the heroes run around being epic. Well, hat tip to Chesa and more points minus to Shiriam. Oi.
Yeah, I think Shiriam's like she's an example of, like, an incompetent dark friend, is my opinion. That, like, she kind of falls into power backwards and then, like, has no idea what to do with it. And, like, is getting pulled around by all the Forsaken, and she doesn't want to, like, she's getting her fingers cut off, and she's just like, leave me alone. I just want to be popular.
I just sold out so I could stay beautiful forever. No, I mean, that's not what she did, but, like, something equally shallow reasoning.
Totally.
And it's like, consequences are so unfair. Oi, all right, cool, fine. Occam's razor. Whatever.
I mean, I'm open to other opinions. It's just Chesa never gives any clue, and that she's a spy.
No, I'm a big agreeer with the Occam's razor argument for these things. Sometimes there's a complicated conspiracy, and this one, it's just, I'm just disappointed in Shiriam's short-sighted choices, but that's fine. In-world explanation. Moving on. Also, like, Sylvie, back to that red herring thing. The whole, like, instantly falls into the blend of comfortable retainer and formality and all of that, whatever that phrase is, like, kind of as a callback to the whole Sylvie thing. So more red herring, a redder herring. It feels out of character to me that Egwene should not even question the trustworthiness of Chesa literally over one night. Like, she's just instantly okay with her, which is very much how she's okay with Halima later, which more red herring painting that's just like, Egwene, what is going on with you? Where is your sense of distrust for, like, everyone ever? You know? But she's just convinced that, like, Shiriam, someone who, yeah, she's picked her to be her keeper, but she's also already considering Shiriam as an antagonist rather than an ally. So why would she trust someone who Shiriam picked for her?
But, you know, there is this evidence that, like, in Crossroads of Twilight, Chapter 20, Chesa is uncomfortable around Halima.
Which is very indicative of her not being a dark friend.
Right. I mean, unless she knew, well...
No, she knew that Halima was if she was also a dark friend, she knew Halima was a dark friend, she would not be pointing out Halima's oddness to Egwene.
Agreed. And it does seem that Sheriam, like, is annoyed that Chesa is, like, constantly chattering away. And like, she wouldn't be annoyed if that was her spy. She'd be like, great. Like,
right.
I want my spy in these rooms. So it's just hard to put any, as much, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence that she's a dark friend and a fair amount of actual evidence that she's not.
Right,
and so
exactly.
I have to go with she's not. In the large room below, the table stood as empty as they had the night. Only the sitters were there wearing their shawls and clustered according to Aja, and Sheriam standing alone. So she basically walks into a room full of these guys ready to restart the ceremony.
Yeah, they literally broke for a nap and for everyone else to wake up.
And I think they point out how none of them are sweating, and she is.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very much like a sign of Aes Sedai. Whenever I think that's actually one of the best signs in the show. One of the ways they could show Aes Sedai is just have like everyone else be sweaty as fuck and have the Aes Sedai be totally dry.
Right. Well, I mean, it only works in a hot environment, of which there are many locations that are not hot. But yeah, for sure.
Dude, anywhere with Moraine is hot. I'll tell you that.
You're not wrong. And yeah, Super Skylick is right. They also can be conspicuously untouched by the cold.
Yes, yeah. So you can have them out in like the freezing cold and just like t-shirts or whatever, strappy things.
Yeah. So yeah, we can definitely have them being imperturbed.
Which, God, now that I think about it, is just another way to sexualize the females in the show, isn't it?
I mean, you can still have like a lack of bundling up and wearing an extra hat.
Right.
You know, it doesn't have to be sexual. It can just be everyone else is throwing on an extra coat and the Aes Sedai aren't.
Sorry, I guess I'm not saying it is a way to do it, but it is a way where it could be abused.
Definitely. And we will have things to say about it if that happens.
Sheriam is like, there's no need to be anxious, as she pets Egwene very anxiously.
I know, right? Like, okay, Sheriam, are you hearing yourself? There's no need to be anxious. Calm down. And yeah, then they go like full booming loudspeaker voice to be like, all right, listen up. We have an Amyrlin. And here she is on a platform of air. And that's going to be epic.
They raise her up like with the raising sun, with the symbolism and everything. It's like why they had to get up so early.
Right. And they like give her like an extra halo. There's like a weave to like make it extra sparkly. It's obnoxious.
It is a little obnoxious. And so she's got this like long ass speech she's supposed to read, which is of course written by committee, which, as we know, anything written by committee is terrible.
Yeah, an old woman who won't shut up, I believe, is how Egwene describes it.
Shocking.
Yeah. Something should not be done by committee.
So she gets the keeper, and like, well, first of all, she shortens it all to like, as Amyrlin, I will lead you in that quest, and I will not falter, as I know you will not. And that like then cuts the rest of the speech, basically.
Pretty much. She's like, so here's the TLDR, and we're just gonna call it good. That's fine.
And Sheriam's my keeper, which everyone's like, well, yeah, obviously. She's got the power to make that happen.
Right, and Ramonda and Elayne were hoping that they had managed to cow Egwene into picking them, but I mean, honestly, who actually expected that to happen? Literally nobody. It was obviously going to be Sheriam. Obviously.
And yeah, I like this. Ramonda and Elayne, I'm sure, had strong suggestions of themselves.
Yes. Very much so.
There's nobody else they were recommending, just themselves. No. And then we get the raising of Theodrin, Elayne, Nyneave, and Elayne to full sisters.
Yep, which is very important and also hilarious because Theodrin and Elayne are literally just swept up in the politics of the moment because Egwene needs Elayne and Nyneave to be full Ashaman. Like, does not matter the consequences. She needs that. And the other two just benefit from that.
Did you say full Ashaman?
Probably, because the word Ashaman is in the Discord, and my brain likes to cross these wires. So they probably would be Ashaman if they could, but I think they're going to stick with Aes Sedai for this particular iteration of the wheel.
So once her speech is over, they're like, okay, get the fuck down. And they drop her real fast.
Really fast. The power winks out like as she's stepping off the platform.
What did you do? You didn't listen to us. And she plays it off as the dumb, ignorant, oh, I just did what I thought.
It's so funny.
It's so good.
It's like the eyelashes are blinking, the eyes are really big. Oh, I just thought it was such a good idea. It's like, go get them. Get them.
Because it's the first of her manipulation, where it's like, oh, and she expels it out pretty explicitly to the girls, where she's like, I can go whichever way is closest to the way I want to go, and then occasionally I can just be dumb and do something and get away with it.
Yeah, she like literally is like widening her eyes. Like, this is the most saccharine, like ridiculous airhead of version of Egwene that she ever pulls off. It's so amazing.
You know, lean into your weaknesses, right? Like, if they think they're going to use her innocence against her, she can use her innocence against them. Make them think she's even more innocent than she is, and that and that she doesn't know what she's doing. Yeah,
she's being very earnest. Oh, I'm going to ask your advice in the future, definitely.
Oh, of course I'll run it by you. I promise. No, it's very satisfying the day they realize that they're not dealing with a clueless girl, but an opponent on the other side of the Stones board who's kicking their butts.
Is that next book or the book after that?
Ugh, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhere out there. It's a ways from now.
She spends a little time paying her dues.
Yeah.
And then there's a time after that she actually becomes Amyrlin and is like, they're no longer even fighting her. They're like, well, you've won. Yep, we do what you say.
There's stages to it for sure.
And that's one of the things I really like about her journey from here on out, is watching her grow from this. One of my favorite plot lines in this whole series is Egwene's growth from this point, right? As a leader, right? We talked about how Rand is a king, Rand is an emperor, and now he has to lead. Well, Egwene has to lead too, and she has to follow that similar sort of arc and figure out how to get people behind her and unite the people who are fighting. And I love the mirroring of their plot lines.
Yeah, because this is when she gets tapped by a greater power. Everything up until now has been her own agency, following Rand and seeing what happens with her life in this massive study abroad program that she's embarked on.
Yeah,
but
right.
This is when she parallels Rand fully by being tapped by a power outside of herself and given very little consent in how much of a linchpin she is.
So here's my question. Which was worse? Undergrad or the Shan-Chan captivity?
I mean, I'm going to have to go with the Shan-Chan captivity. Definitely was her least favorite part. Definitely. Because that part was pretty non-consenting and unpleasant. I
was more making a joke about our undergrad experience versus her quote-unquote undergrad experience.
Yeah, I still think that we had an easier time.
Fair, yeah.
I mean, I know that the apartments were pretty small, but not quite as small as a Damani Kennel. I didn't actually have to live in a dorm, so.
Oh, the tower was her time as undergrad? I guess that makes more sense. That was like high school, though.
Was it, though? I guess a good high school.
Like a boarding high school, but like just a bunch of teenagers. They're playing sports. They're scrubbing their rooms. Like, there's too much structure in the White Tower for it to be undergrad.
But then, going to the Shan-Chan was like going out for like a field trip and then getting taken hostage in a war zone or something when you're just supposed to be out for 6 weeks.
I'm studying abroad in Iraq. Don't get taken hostage.
Yeah, that would suck. That was literally what happened. She literally got taken hostage in what was about to become a war zone.
But yeah, no. So she's hit the Shan-Chan. She's hit obviously the White Tower. She's got the Aiel behind her, and now she's gonna get a crash course from the Forsaken.
That really rounds out her education, for sure.
It really does.
It means that the only society of magic users that she doesn't interface with directly is the Windfinders.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, Elayne, I think, gains a lot of that knowledge and on this journey, and they bring some of that back to her. Because she does talk about using their skills to weave larger flows. I think they do. We don't see it on screen, but off screen they do teach her some of the stuff.
Right, and the bringing the Bowl of the Winds, that brings the Aes Sedai and Windfinders into a bunch of contact that lays the groundwork for many more decades of collaboration and interfacing. So Egwene does a lot of work for that, even though she doesn't ever actually get the chance to train with them. Because, yeah, as Super Sky likes pointing out, she did actually try to go get some sea folk education, and they threw her back into the water.
Yes, they did.
So, it was not for a lack of trying on Egwene's part.
That was mostly probably because there were Tower Aes Sedai attempting to infiltrate and do bad, or even Dark Friend Aes Sedai trying to do bad
Correct,
things to the
definitely.
And
it was not a personal thing with her. But
she was wrong place, wrong time. She climbed up the side of the boat right after the sea folk had been violated in some way, and they thought somebody was trying to hide, basically.
I do not remember what the podcast had to say about that scene, but it's definitely implied that was a case of mistaken identity, and she got thwarted out of a cool learning opportunity because, wrong place, wrong time. But between Elayne and the Bowl of the Winds, the Aes Sedai and the Windfinders are in contact as a result of Egwene, so it gets an honorary mention. And Lexicon's saying the Sea Folk were not, the fact that they were friendly to Elayne and Nyneave was unusual, right? Or in the ordinary course of things, Aes Sedai are not welcome. Though Egwene was dressed as an Aiel at the time, which might have just weirded them out even more. Because
Or did they just come aboard because of they were emissaries from the Dragon Reborn? Is that why they let them on from the Coromor?
I think because I remember what gets shouted down is something like your disguises won't work on us. So they definitely...
Well, that's the second time. That's when Egwene shows up.
Right. Oh, but right, with...
But what about Elayne and Nyneave? When they first show up, the Aes Sedai usually get denied the gift of passage, but they usually let them come aboard to negotiate.
Yeah, they don't usually let them climb up and then cut the ropes out from under
Right.
them. That is not a usual response.
That is a highly unusual response from the Sea Folk.
Which, I think in that case is because they suspect she's an Aes Sedai pretending to be an Aiel because they've already rejected one round.
And they can sense that she's a channeler, so they're like...
Right.
Yeah.
So they're insulted, and she's just like, well, that was a very odd experience that I will not repeat.
So then we sort of get the idea... Sort of is the idea that, hey, I've got them pinned just a little bit because they can't undercut me too badly on the first few days because they're raising me up as, the ideal. So she's trying to pull this balancing act of, I need to push them a little bit to get what I want because this is the time when I can push them a little bit, but not too far that they totally revoke me being an Aes Sedai or being the Amyrlin because they can still do that.
This is her talking to Sheriam still? Or are we going to... So I want to talk about the transition to when Nyneave and Elayne come in. Because Egwene has this, really lonely moment here.
Yes.
Egwene stared at the door after Sheriam had gone. Then she turned and stared at the table. Absolutely bare. Not a report to be read. No records to study. Not so much as a pen and ink to write a note, much less a decree. And Swan coming to teach her etiquette. Then 2 paragraphs down, they come in and curtsy. And please don't do that, Egwene said. Actually, it was more of a wail. You're the only 2 friends I have, and if you start, she was almost ready to cry. This moment is just one of the most vulnerable, lonely, intimate, she's feeling her emotions and fully being the little girl who's way in over her head that we ever see of Egwene. And she just has her badass mask of Amyrlin on the whole rest of the series until she goes up in a blaze of glory.
I also think she's a little pissed because they're treating her like a child, right? They've taken away any ability of her to write messages. Any legitimate Amyrlin seat would be given notes and messages and communication, and they'd have a pile of things waiting for her to read. And by not giving her any of that, they're saying you're just a child.
You're just a puppet. You're just a figurehead.
Right. She was wondering whether, and then there's a knock. She wondered whether it was Suan or perhaps a servant with a snack of honeycakes already cut into suitably small pieces. Not even giving her a knife to cut her own food with, basically.
You're just a puppet. That's all you are. And she's just like, you want me to do this thing, and I'm Egwene Alvear, so I do everything 100%. And how am I going to do that with no allies and no tools. And then these two allies come in and treat her as her symbol, and she's just like, no, 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 no. I need you to treat me like myself, at least for a few weeks until I get all stern and epic on you.
And at the same time, she does say when we're alone, right? Like, that's very important, because in public, she needs them to support her in the entirely other way, as in treating her as she is the Amyrlin.
Yeah. Yeah, this moment passes quickly, but it's really sweet and sad.
Matt actually gets that one right and kind of rubs their noses in it a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Matt. I think it's because he's such a military-minded person. He understands chains of command really intensely and is like, I do not appreciate how much my friend is being undercut from her position right now. So I'm going to make a very fancy move in that direction. But yeah, it's something that she technically learns from Swan, but also totally gets intuitively herself.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's, Swan is teaching a very intuitive student here who's already had quite a bit of schooling, both from Moraine's Game of Houses and the Aiel sort of stubbornness and, holding your own against opinionated women.
Yeah, it's a really good thing she went to be a wise one's apprentice.
Uh-huh. And so then I guess we get a little bit of conversation where they're catching up, basically, about what's happened on both sides. Sort of the discoveries, the healing, all that kind of stuff.
All the Yellows taking turns with Nyneave.
But they are carefully avoiding the Mogedian subject. They're like telling her everything else except about Mogedian, which is how we end the chapter, is they and then we begin the next chapter with them talking about Mogedian. But so for all the rest of this chapter, they're sort of avoiding that conversation and circling around it.
Yeah, they go through some other important topics, but yeah,
sure.
That's definitely the Forsaken in the room, so to speak.
Nice.
Except she's not in the room yet.
Yeah, the bracelet holding her kind of is.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we get the hilarity of Egwene already not being able to relate her full Aiel experience to her friends because from their shocked laughs and expressions, they're already not believing her. And she's like, I guess I won't tell them the part where I learned how to milk a Gara. And then we get a bunch of cryptic comments from Elayne about the whole Min and Rand situation that's going down while she's trying to sit to the side and not be jealous, but is failing miserably, which is hilarious because Avienda is going to show up in like 3-4 days with Matt, and then Elaine's going to have to deal with the whole Avienda situation now that Min is like just recently out of her hair.
That's a good point. Yeah. It does take a while to get all three of them together, but it is nice that Elayne gets a chance to have relationships with both of them.
For sure, but she only gets a few days, actually, in between. She doesn't get many days by herself.
No, she doesn't. But yeah, that Min is a better woman than I. That's a reference to the conversation they had before she left, where she was like, Elaine's having a little more trouble dealing with the 3-part prophecy. She wants Rand to herself. She is not so much about sharing.
Mm-hmm. And specifically when Min agrees instantly to take a letter, and Elayne thinks like, I might not have been quite as quick to say yes, even though I know I would have said yes. I might not have been as fast. And I think that's what this comment is referring to, is the fact that Min is way more like resigned to how uncomfortable this is. Elayne is still fighting it a little bit.
Maybe, but I bet, that's one of those things where I think that all the other women are better than I am type situation, where, of course, Elayne would have said it just as quickly, but she would have hesitated in her mind. And I think Min's doing the same thing, where she said it quickly, but in her mind, she's like, I don't really want to take this.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But, that's part of why Nynaeve's giving her the sympathetic look, is because she's like, oh, you girls.
Where all the girls want to be as brave as the other girls, and it's like Elaine's constantly, I wish I was as brave as Egwene, and vice versa. Yeah,
I wish I was as not jealous as my sister wives. Nynaeve has a very half-baked perspective on it. She knows that there's a lot of angst and drama, but she doesn't quite know how all the women are approaching it, so she's just sympathetic without actually like knowing what she's being sympathetic for exactly. She's just like, oh, angst, that looks uncomfortable.
She has not even entertained the idea that the women are agreeing to share it. Like, that's so far out of her, like, a possibility in her head that she's like, it's going right over her head.
Yeah, and she has no idea about the Avienda situation. right? Min
Right.
and Elayne both know that there is a third that needs to get worked out, but Nyneave has zero concept of that. That doesn't happen until the triple bonding scene, I think. That's when Nyneave gets clued into the fact that Avienda is also romantically involved.
Yeah, she's kind of like the mom.
So
like,
scandalized.
Yeah. And, like, you kind of hide your relationships from your mom. You don't, let her know until they're, like, well established. Because moms get way too excited about relationships way too early.
Stepmoms get so nosy. Oh, my God. So nosy.
And Scott has a good point that Min has had a chance to live with the visions for a while. Or as Elayne has just learned about them.
Yeah, no, for sure. Min is way more able to accept reality truly in a way that Elayne gets it intellectually, but it's a little more work to make it go emotionally. But she gets through it much faster than she gives herself credit for, because it's a quintessential problem in Wheel of Time, is to not rate your own emotional maturity correctly, one way or another.
There's one good thing to tell, and then she goes right into that to, I'm sorry about your mother, Elayne.
Oh, yeah,
and Elayne
that's...
looks confused. Yeah, it's like, hey, I've got good news. By the way, I'm sorry your mother died. And Elaine's like, wait, what? She's got a little bit of whiplash there.
Yeah, it's a lot of like, yeah, what? And then we get this hilarious, one of the most hilarious miscommunications of the whole series, where Rand is like, I'm not giving the Lion Throne to anyone other than the rightful ruler. And the rightful ruler is like, well, fuck you and the horse you rode in on.
Right.
And it's like, it's just slightly less pride. Even Egwene is defending Rand here. Like, just...
Yeah, she's surprised. She's like, but why wouldn't you want to take it? Isn't that exactly what you want? Like, go get it.
Yeah, all Rand meant was that he's not going to appoint somebody else. That's actually what he was saying. He wasn't trying to make some weird power play, okay? He's a farm boy. He doesn't do the words like a frickin' princess.
I wonder if she is avoiding going back so that she can go back on her own terms.
I mean, and in fairness, the Andorran nobles probably would see it the way she sees it. That's a very important distinction with respect to her ability to lay claim to their allegiance. And she doesn't even know how much her mother messed up those allegiances.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Elaine's political savviness probably outstrips my interpretation of her behavior right here. But it's still, to me, one of the silliest and most hilarious miscommunications in a book that is literally built on hilarious miscommunications.
When I put my hands on him, I will teach him to speak the right language. Gimme.
Give
so,
me.
Elayne, give me. Gimme. All right, Elayne.
No, I think she's saying give me, like she's putting in quotes with heavy sarcasm. Give me.
Oh, yeah.
With the italics. Yeah. It should be in quotes, honestly. But, yeah. But then all Egwene can do is laugh at how much Elayne actually just wants to make out with Rand for, like, 3 straight days.
Right.
It's like, yeah, you're gonna go teach him. Mm-hmm.
That, well, that too. What's the other thing you're gonna do exactly?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you come up for air, I'm sure you'll get right back to berating him.
Mm-hmm. Scolding him naked on his chest, not a great position.
Well, I mean, some people pay good money for that kind of thing. You live in the strip club capital of the world. Tell me I'm wrong.
Listen, let me just say, it's been a little harder than I expected to find someone who would... Never mind.
Do I need to go get another beer?
Always.
We have the big reveal of, hey, mother, can we go get a bowl from a coastal city? It's a really pretty bowl, and it's going to set this office off just amazingly.
Yeah. I thought they were going to go get, like, they wanted to smoke a bowl.
We need a bowl, mother. It's a really dank bowl. It's made of crystal, mother.
It's totally going to save the environment, man.
Everyone's just gonna, like, chill. But, like, then it's gonna get too chill. It's gonna be like a Cold War. It's gonna be bad.
It's gonna be bad. Listen, we're gonna go to the city. Listen, we're gonna have to go to the slums. We know it's in the slums. We know the crystals in the slums.
Super sketch, but it's
somewhere.
super dope.
And we promise we'll bring you some back.
Yeah.
It's a drug run.
Yeah. They're asking they're asking Egwene for money and permission to run down to the sketchy part of town and get some crystal bowl. Headcanon established.
And they're like, Yeah, I mean, we lied and said we had to go with our boyfriend, but we really don't have to go with our boyfriend. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually have a fake ID that's like totally fine. We don't need him to buy the liquor.
Right.
It's fine.
Right. So if you'll just send us, we'll go. We don't need the boys.
We do need exact change though.
But no, it'll be 10 minutes there and back, no problem.
Yeah, no problem.
7 months later.
Right? Like, and an invasion of an entire country by like the next thing to shadow spawn as far as the mother in question is concerned.
Could I get some non-consecutive gold mark coins for the trip, please? We get sort of an accurate assessment why they picked her. Part is for Rand, but part is that they think she's an amateur.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is really, whatever the reasons, they chose me Amyrlin, and since they did, I mean to be Amyrlin. And that is basically her whole goal from now on.
It's her entire reason for being. She is the Amyrlin.
From now on.
That is who she is at the core of her being, is the Amyrlin.
She ends up embodying that, yeah.
Yeah, that's why she's able to break Masana, is because from this moment on, she sees herself as the Amyrlin. And it even powers her through the loss of her warder for a couple of days.
Right.
That strength of sense of self. It burns her out, but like, it allows her to do some incredible things. And this is very much her being like, okay, my two best friends, like, look me in the eyes and understand me when I say, I'm going to be the Amyrlin. And
I push as far as I can now. But once word spreads and people know I'm the Amyrlin, then shit's going to really go down.
And I'm going to need your help.
Right.
And it's a fun moment because also Elayne does not understand the small-scale politics that are going on here nearly as well as Nyneave. And usually I look to Elayne for the political interpretations. But in this scenario, Nyneave is actually the one that gets it the most. And this is a topic that Egwene and Nyneave circle back to in several books.
Totally.
And she's like, remember this conversation that like you've literally had with me before? Like, I'm having it with you now, but this is the time we get to see it on screen before that conversation, because Nyneave is reflecting here on being the wisdom and too young for the women's circle and all that. And Elayne's like, but I've always been destined for the throne. Duh.
It's the difference between book learning and practical knowledge between the two of them.
Yeah.
That Nyneave has all the practical knowledge, whereas Elayne has all the book learning.
Totally. She understands the law better, but she has not dealt with exercising it before. Not in the same way.
What are you going to do? Elayne asked quietly. You are not going to accept it meekly. That made Egwene smile wholeheartedly. It was not a question, but a firm statement of fact. No, I am not. She had listened to a number of Moraine's lectures to Rand about the game of houses. Back then, she had thought the game absurd and worse than underhanded. Now she hoped she could remember everything she had heard. The Aiel always said, use the weapons you have. It may help that they're trying to fit me for 3 different leashes. I can pretend to be pulled by one or another, depending on which is the closest to what I want to do. Once in a while, I can just do what I want, the way I did raising you two, but not very often yet. Squaring her shoulders, she met their gaze levelly. I would like to say I raised you because you deserved it, but the truth is, I did it because you're my friends, and because I hope, as full sisters, you can help me. I certainly don't know who else I can trust except you two. I will send you to Ebu Dar as soon as I can, but before and after, you are who I can discuss things with. I know you will tell me the truth. That trip to Ebu Dar may not take as long as you might think. You two have made all sorts of discoveries, so I hear, but if I can puzzle a few things out, I may have one of my own. That will be wonderful, Elayne said, but she sounded almost absent-minded. On one of the most oddest ends of a chapter ever.
Ever. And that's saying a lot. There's a lot of chapter endings in this series.
And, like, the next sentence in the next chapter starts up with, the silence was very peculiar, and Egwene did not understand all. It's like they cut this chapter in the middle. They're just like, it was too long, and the editor said, you know what, we need to cut this. What's a good spot for it?
Literally move one sentence over. It should have stopped at, I may have one of my own. Just move that sentence to the next chapter. The next sentence to the next chapter. Well, it's still a really it's a nice cliffhanger to be like, dun dun, more magic.
I would almost cut it like a little bit later. Say the signs are peculiar, blah blah blah. I have a confession. I captured Moghedian. End it there, and then start the new paragraph
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. So, anyway, I had to comment on that because I like literally got to the end of this page and flipped to the next one, expecting there to be more to the chapter. And I was like, "What? Where's the rest of the chapter? Did they cut it? Did a page fall out? Like, what's going on?" It's like, nope, that's just a weird continuation and a weird cut in the middle of, I think, basically chapter 36 and 37 should have been one chapter. A very long chapter, but it still, like, would have flowed together better that way.
Yeah, agreed. Recording is... I'm dying. It's fine.
You've been in your house now for what, like 2 months? Month?
Month and a half?
So yeah, split the difference.
It's getting very dark here, for sure. The hill to the south is... The way that the angle of the hill goes and where the sun is with the going south thing, it's getting very dark here. But I spent a lot of time outside today working on taking blackberries out of Douglas fir trees, and I think I found some random salmon eggs, like, on the bank.
Oh,
like,
cool.
Where they got washed up by a flood, I think. There's like a dozen of them, like, scattered around like marbles. Like, not a nest, but I'm pretty sure they were salmon eggs.
Well, you know the best way to find out, right?
Google what
Flavor.
Salmon eggs look like? No. No. That would be inappropriate. But the creek is really clear and beautiful and running strong. And it was just gorgeous today. Sunny, and yeah, I actually got exercise that involved doing work on my land rather than just exercising for the sake of exercising.
Nice.
So that was glorious and wonderful.
It was cold out today here.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't as cold. The other night it was actually frosty. This
Gotcha.
morning it wasn't frosty, but it was still cold.
I guess the work keeps you warm.
Yeah, for sure. I was in my, like, insulated Carhartt knockoff overalls and jacket for a while because I was working in some really dark areas. There's a whole bunch of blackberries, like, getting up into the trees, and I want to reduce the... It's not really a fire hazard because it's all super dark and damp back there, but it's the symbolism of the thing. I hate blackberries, and I need to rip them all out. And then there's English ivy that's also trying to take root under there, and I go under there and get all that out.
Are you not excited about blackberry picking in the spring?
Oh, yeah. Well, summer here, it comes much later than it does in the Willamette Valley where you're at.
Fair.
By like 3 weeks in some places because of all the hills. But yeah, there's a lot of blackberries that are going to be delicious and wonderful, but there are areas where I will rip them out with a vengeful fury because I'm really good at killing plants. I'm not good at growing them, but I'm very, very good at killing them. And I don't just mean in like a brown thumb sort of way. Like, I have tools and techniques. I love going into hand-to-hand combat with a blackberry hedge. It's really fun.
I will say the last time I did that, it had some poison ivy hiding among it, and I lost.
Ooh. Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah. Also, advice, don't take a bath after you get exposed to poison ivy.
Yeah, no. Don't, no.
Oil floats.
Yes, it does.
And then when you stand up out of the oil, it goes everywhere.
This goes for poison oak, too.
Hypothetically.
Yeah.
Don't get poison oak on your genitals. It hurts, boys and girls. It hurts. Hypothetically.
It hurts everywhere, definitively.
Yeah.
I've gotten it in some very, like, this shouldn't hurt, like on the side of your hip, like not really normally a sensitive area. Ugh, so painful. So yeah, if it would hurt there, imagine where it would hurt somewhere that actually has sensitivity.
I basically had blisters down the entire side of my body. It was bad. Yeah, I was out of work for about 3 weeks.
Damn, that's harsh.
Yeah, that was fresh out of college, and I thought I was invincible. And that was sort of my first lesson in, nope, You sure as hell aren't.
Yikes. I had a friend who got it all over her face, and there was a few days where she couldn't see because her face was so inflamed. I've gotten it a couple times, but never anywhere particularly, like, crippling. But I also itched really, really bad, so it was still pretty not fun. Do not recommend at all. It's one of the reasons I love living out here. It's mostly too wet out here for poison oak to be around. On the farther south, like in the southern Oregon coast, there's lots of it for sure.
Right.
But here in the central Oregon coast, nope, not
Well,
very much at all.
And that was Philadelphia.
Yeah, we don't have poison ivy out here, I don't think, but poison oak follows all the same rules for don't fuck with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I was doing the terrible. I was literally ripping a bunch of vines and roots out and plants out by the roots in shorts, t-shirt, and flip flops.
Yeah,
I did not realize that some of those plants were also poison ivy, and I was just crushing them, you know.
Oh, getting the just crushed plant juice
Getting
all
just
over
all
everywhere.
over everywhere. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Might as well just run it through a chipper shredder and stand downwind.
I poisoned myself pretty badly.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or
support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?